Chapter 2, Aftermath. The next morning, Dr. Kher started his day very early. He made sure to get up before dawn while his wife was still asleep. She had been very angry with him for being so caught up in his work. The second he arrived home the previous night, he regretted not staying at his studio apartment to review the data and recorded evidence. All night, he had to endure his wife's complaints for the last few weeks of neglect. All the while, all he could think about were the previous afternoon's session and what Carla was going to reveal to him at lunch. He had had to work hard at concealing his thoughts so as not to feed the fire of his wife's wrath. At the end of the night, though, it had all been worth it. Her doing all the talking and him doing all the apologizing seemed to remedy the conflict. By the end of the night, his wife was no longer mad at him, and they hadn't gone to bed angry at each other. As long as he remained on his best behavior, he should be off the hook, for a while at least. Dr. Kher's drive to work was a blur. His thoughts dwelled on the session at apartment 404 and all the data that needed sifting through. He was anxious that what he had witnessed was not recorded somehow, or that the data was missing. From leaving his house to entering his office at the university, the professor made it to work completely on autopilot. Tossing his sports jacket on a rack and rolling up his sleeves, he wasted no time getting to work. His first order of business was accessing his cloud files. He went straight to the photograph of the claw print on Carla's neck. It was still there. The photo was not lost, deleted, or imagined. It was real. The photograph of the foot imprint was also crystal clear.
Unbelievable,
Dr. Kher muttered to himself. He printed out the photos and hurried to the printer to gather them. The printer warm-up time felt like an eternity. Finally, the photos printed out in full color and just as clear on paper as on the monitor. He then took the new photos over to the corkboard hanging behind his desk on his office wall. He had various other trophies posted there. A few photos with orbs, another one with mist, and his best one, which contained what looked like a faint silhouette of a humanoid in an old prison hallway. As if surveying the sum of his entire career, he scanned over the entire board with disgust. However, his smile returned when he looked down at the photos in his hands. Triumphantly, he removed some old photos from the corner of the board, mostly of the cemetery with various orbs, and replaced them with his new trophies. The images of the claw marks mesmerized him for a few moments, but Dr. Kher finally returned to his senses after a few moments of staring at his new photos. It was time to review the camera files, temperature data, and sound. His goal was to get through most of the data before lunch so he could share his results with Carla. The thought reminded him to message her. Because it was so early in the morning, he thought it was probably too early for a text, so he sent her an email to meet him at his office before lunch. Getting back to his work, he first reviewed the temperature data. The baseline started at around 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which was what the air conditioner had been set to. The baseline was pretty stable for several hours before he and Carla arrived. A few minutes before they entered the apartment, however, the temperature started to slowly drop. Correlation showed the first tenth of a degree dropped a few minutes before they opened the door. When he recalled that they had paused a minute or two just outside the door, this made sense. As they were getting ready for the session, the temperature slowly dropped several tenths of a degree every minute. Usually, the opposite would occur when warm bodies are first introduced into a room. The slight temperature drop was interesting but irrelevant compared to the two large drops during the session and the heat spike toward the end that towered over all the other data on his graph. The first decline was a sharp drop of 8 degrees, and the second drop was 17 degrees over several minutes with several fluctuations. The first drop occurred at around the time Carla mentioned focusing on the shadow figures surrounding them. This he had noticed in real time. He surmised the shadow beings had used this thermal energy to manifest to Carla or in their struggle against her. Sound and video evidence needed to be correlated to this temperature data to see if any other physical manifestations had occurred. The second temperature drop occurred just before Dr. Kher provoked the spirits by asking them to show a sign of their presence. He would have to verify it, but he guessed the first big fluctuation occurred when the water bottle hurled past him into the kitchen. Another fluctuation would hopefully line up with the card table's destruction. The temperature then continued to drop, and apparently the thermal energy usage was ramping up for the assault on Carla. An oddity was the strange heat spike of almost 30 degrees. The spike went up above the baseline for a few seconds and then back down toward the original baseline temperature. He had just calibrated all his instruments a month before, so he was confident in the measuring device. Correlation with time put the spike at exactly the time he fell back in his chair at the session's conclusion. He did not remember feeling any heat. He would have to ask Carla what she experienced. After the heat spike, the room's temperature returned to the baseline at an abnormal rate. Dr. Kher loaded the temperature data into his software program where he could synchronize time, temperature, audio, and video data. Moving on to audio, he focused first on the recorder he had on the table. All of his memory cards were well organized in a custom-made card case. Each card had a code written on it that designated its correlated device. They were segregated into groups by date and time. Inserting the memory card into the reader, he transferred the audio to the software program, and he was able to view temperature data alongside the audio. After the data was uploaded, he removed the memory card and put it back into the organized container. He adjusted his chair, leaned back, and began to watch the oscillating waves dance around his screen as he eagerly listened to the sounds at every peak. Most audio during the session with Carla was pretty normal, the usual background static and conversation as he remembered it. The first anomaly came toward the end when he had been sitting in the silence and waiting for Carla to regain her composure. The unidentified audio had the sound of faint whispering. It sounded like a group conversation, and it lasted several minutes throughout the silence. He marked the time to review again and continued looking for any other anomalies. Among the other anomalies were the sounds of a distant door closing and distant voices having a conversation in the hallway. He was able to identify them as the potential new tenant and exclude them from the study. No other electronic voice phenomenon was found. The sounds of the water bottle slamming into the cabinet and the table collapsing were caught normally with all other audio. Content with his audio review, Dr. Kher returned to the whispering sounds. He played the voices over and over again. The whispering sent chills down his spine every time he listened. As hard as he tried, he could not make out what the whispering voices were saying or what language they were speaking. The whispering appeared to be coming from 3 or 4 different sources. Even though he could not make them out, they sounded eerie. Ready to listen one more time, Dr. Kher suddenly noticed Carla standing in his office doorway and waving to him. Saving his work quickly and removing the headphones, he got up from his seat.
Carla,
He exclaimed. He held out his arms as if to embrace her in a hug. He hurried to his office door to meet her.
how are you doing?
He asked soothingly and gave her a supportive hug.
I am doing fine so far, but what happened yesterday troubled me.
Carla responded with a hint of worry in her voice.
It will all be okay. Let's talk about it over some good Greek food. I am absolutely starving. I've been working all morning without taking a break. So far, I have gathered a lot of high-quality evidence on thermal and audio. I am dying to hear more about what you experienced, though.
Dr. Kher said excitedly, putting on his sports jacket, grabbing his notebook and pen, and preparing to leave. Together, they left his office and made their way across campus to the nice Greek restaurant. It was a pleasant late August afternoon. It was mid-80s with a nice breeze, and the walk to the restaurant was enjoyable. The campus was well maintained and landscaped to include flowered gardens between walkways. There were large grassy areas with well-maintained grass and trees. Students lounged on the lawns, socialized, studied, or took long naps. The sky was dark blue with few clouds. The campus was on a hill that overlooked the city to the west and was nestled up against mountains to the east and north. Both the professor and Carla were oblivious to the beautiful scenery, however. Both had a lot on their minds. As they walked, Dr. Kher couldn't contain his excitement and immediately started to talk about the temperature data and the amazing temperature spikes. He explained the excellent time correlation and how good the graphical data looked. Carla nodded along with the conversation, but wasn't too surprised he had obtained decent evidence from the session. Carla's mind, however, was elsewhere, and she didn't give the professor her full attention. She was still puzzling over the events at the session's end and cursing her big mistake that could cause her trouble or even harm. She had let fear get a hold of her, and she hadn't ritually cleansed herself before leaving the site. This had been bothering her since she realized it. The professor noticed her concern and lack of attention and paused.
I'm sorry, Carla. Is something bothering you?
He asked as the restaurant came into view. Carla nodded and motioned to the restaurant just ahead. The restaurant was one of his favorites. It was a little on the expensive side, but in this case, he felt Carla deserved it for what he had put her through. The restaurant had an outside dining area shaded by several trees and surrounded by trellises overgrown with grapes. The grapes' large leaves blocked out the surroundings and offered privacy to those dining within. Due to the higher cost, few students on campus had lunch there, so it was never very busy at lunchtime. Dinner time was a different story, however. One had to make reservations in advance just to get a table. People would drive from all over town for the food, and it was a popular dining place for young lovers. A server met them near the gate of the outside dining area.
Dr. Kher, good afternoon. Would you like your usual today?
Yes, Melissa, and thank you. It is a beautiful afternoon.
He responded, as if just realizing the beauty around him. The server escorted them to a secluded table by a large tree and along the trellis fence. Other than another couple and a business pair, the outside area was fairly clear. Carla and the professor sat down at their table. Dr. Kher didn't need a menu. He ordered a pikilia platter for both of them and a pair of Greek salads. Carla ordered an iced tea and he ordered water. The server then left to get their drinks. As soon as the server left, Carla began to describe her experience during the session.
The energy in apartment 404 has grown. Either there is a new presence, or the presence I saw last time was deceiving us. I was not able to get a clear image of the entity. All it was manifesting was a shadow form. It stood taller than a man and had 3 fingers on each hand and 3 toes on each foot. At the end of each were sharp, curved talons.
Carla paused while the server returned with their drinks and checked on them. After the server left again, Carla took a long drink and continued to describe her experience.
4 other shadow figures seemed to follow the lead of the large shadow standing near you. Together, they overwhelmed my barrier, and the large one assaulted me. I couldn't stop it, Simon!
Carla had never used the professor's first name before, and emotion filled her voice.
I was not in control, and that scared me to death. I was lucky the shadow form stopped his assault when he did. I did not end my channeling. I was ejected from it. The expulsion was very unnatural and momentarily stunned me.
Carla paused to take another drink.
Because I was in shock, I made a huge mistake. I didn't cleanse myself before leaving the session, so it is possible I accidentally let something get attached to me.
Carla dropped her head into her open hands.
Are you telling me you didn't end the channeling by your own power? You didn't control or stop the spirits from harming you?
No, it was not me.
She fought to contain her emotions again and continued.
The smaller shadow figures suddenly scattered away from us. They moved close to the floor and gathered in the corner behind and to the right of me. Their anger turned into horrendous fear. At the same time, the large shadow looked toward the bedroom. No, beyond it. Its disposition went from a sense of powerful cruelty to raw hatred aimed at whatever it was looking at or sensing. Then it looked into my eyes and everything went up in a flash of light. I was stunned and my ears were ringing.
Carla explained as she paused for a moment for another drink of iced tea. Taking a drink of his water, the professor seemed perplexed by Carla's revelation. He then gave her a quizzical look.
Did you feel any heat at all during the session?
No, why do you ask?
My temperature data contains a heat spike. At the end of the session, the temperature shot up for a few seconds. After that, the room's temperature returned to normal.
Carla thought for a minute.
I have never heard of that before. Was it a thermometer malfunction?
No. I checked against that 5 times, and I calibrated it just a month ago. My theory is that it had to do with your release from the spirit.
As if with perfect timing, a group of servers brought the large pikilia platter and their salads. The platter had an assortment of meats from beef and chicken to lamb. It also had a stack of pita bread and a large bowl of cucumber yogurt sauce. Both Dr. Kher and Carla were very hungry, and they immediately filled their plates with the assorted meats and pita. After sating their hunger and making a little small talk, Carla resumed her serious conversation.
I will not return to that apartment, Simon. I'm sorry if this will slow your work down, but I just can't go back.
I am so sorry I put you through that ordeal. I won't ask you to come back. Thank you so much for all the work you have done for me. I would love to work with you again, but I understand if you need a break for a while.
It's okay. Even if you had told me what I would be up against, I would have gone anyway. I just need some time to reinforce myself, refresh my spirit, and make sure I don't have any attachments. I feel better just talking to you about it.
Carla added with a smile. The professor took her hand and looked her in the eyes as he spoke.
If you need anything, anything at all, please just come see me or call me.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you for lunch. I need to get to class, though. I will see you around.
Carla said, and she got up from her chair to leave.
Oh, I still have your guardian charm. I can.
No, keep it. I can't use it anymore. It may have an attachment, so please be careful with it.
Carla gathered her purse and made her way out of the outdoor dining area and back toward the campus. Dr. Kher stayed behind at the table and pulled out his notebook. While picking at the platter's remnants, he made notes about his conversation with Carla. Carla's experience created more questions than answers. What were the shadow figures scared of? What ended Carla's channeling session? What was he going to find back at the apartment when he returned? What was he going to find when he reviewed the video evidence? The final question jolted him into action. He had a lot of work ahead of him. He grabbed the check and his notebook and went up to the counter. After he paid, he quickly made his way back to his office to start reviewing the video data. Before he got started, he paused to add a reminder on his phone to ensure he would get home on time. As part of the reconciliation with his wife the night before, he had promised to take her out to a nice dinner. He had had to work hard the previous night to finally receive his wife's forgiveness, and he was not about to undo it all with one screw-up tonight. That left him with only a few hours to work. He would review what he could of the interview session before going over all the other data. He also planned to enlist students' help to review the footage from the other cameras in the apartment. Satisfied with his plans, he began the task of reviewing the interview camera video footage. The video footage lived up to his expectations. Upon reviewing the interview camera footage, he immediately noticed a clearly visible mist hanging in the air. He jumped frame by frame, but he could not discern any images or forms in the mist. The mist itself was an anomaly. He had not noticed it during the session in real time. Over the course of the session, the mist slowly sank until only the top of the mist was visible at the bottom of the screen. It remained there for the rest of the session. Next, he reviewed the footage of the water bottle launching into the air and toward the kitchen. The video played exactly as he remembered it. Watching it frame by frame, however, revealed a phenomenon that explained how it happened. In the first series of frames, the water bottle simultaneously existed in two places. In one frame, the bottle was completely at rest on the table. In the next frame, the bottle existed on the table and several feet above the table. The third frame showed the bottle completely levitated above the table. The following frames revealed the bottle flying through the air toward the kitchen cupboard. The bottle then slammed into the cupboard, deformed, and fell to the ground where it spilled the rest of its contents. It was impossible for something to appear in two places at the same time. A massive smile crept across Dr. Kher's face as he realized the evidence's importance. He had just captured a paranormal phenomenon known as a port, the teleportation of an object. He would have to get another opinion to back it up, but he was sure he had solid evidence of the phenomenon. The single frame from the table to air was completely different from the motion across the room. Unfortunately, his camera was only 30 frames per second, so a counter-argument would be that the bottle had to travel the 3 feet faster than 90 miles per hour to traverse the distance in a single frame. Due to the paranormal situation, however, teleportation fit with the theorized paranormal event of apport. Even if he could not completely prove the apport, he still had paranormal evidence of an invisible force acting on the water bottle. The next set of video footage revealed a black mist near Dr. Kher's left shoulder. The black, shapeless mist seemed to slowly envelop his entire shoulder. This occurred during the silence and just before the sundering of the table. The black anomaly started as a hand-sized cloud before it slowly grew to the size of a basketball. Seconds before the table broke in half, the mist suddenly flung off his shoulder and into the table's center. As the mist made impact, the table buckled as if the floating black mist had weight and substance. The black mist did not follow the table as it fell to the ground, however. Instead, it moved to Carla's neck. The professor leaned back in chair with a broad smile. He had found additional unexpected video evidence. He had footage of what he suspected to be demonic apport and a black mist that seemed to cause the table's destruction and Carla's assault. Noticing his phone, his smile drained from his face.
Is it past 7 already?
Dr. Kher exclaimed in shock. He picked up his phone. His heart sank as he unlocked the screen and saw a banner declaring 2 missed calls from his wife.
What the hell?
Dr. Kher exclaimed to himself angrily. Apparently, his phone was on silent and had probably been that way since the session the night before. Before listening to the voicemails, he immediately called his wife. The phone rang several times before he received an automated voicemail message. He quickly broke the connection and called a second time. This time there were no rings, and the call went straight to voicemail.
I am so sorry, honey. I will be home soon, and we can go out for a late dinner. See you soon. I love you.
Dr. Kher said. He then selected the first voicemail.
Honey, it is 5 in the afternoon, and I just wanted to call to remind you about tonight. I am looking forward to dinner and getting out of the house. I made reservations for 7:30 at DeMauro's. I love you,
His wife said excitedly. Listening to the second voicemail, his wife was now speaking angrily.
Do not bother coming home tonight. I am so disgusted with you, and I do not even want to see your face.
The professor threw his phone against the office wall and cursed in frustration. A violent temper was not characteristic of him. He slumped back in his chair and thought for a moment. He would have to make it up to her tomorrow. For tonight, he decided to stay at apartment 404. While he was there, he figured he might as well continue to review the video evidence from his session with Carla. He had 2 classes the following day and would hire some students to review his backlogged video data. He would be sure to get home in the afternoon and work hard to make things right. Satisfied with his plan, he packed up his laptop and memory cards and headed back to apartment 404. The professor made it to the apartment door. His briefcase, some grocery items he had picked up from the store, and his fast food dinner filled his hands. The apartment hallway was quiet, and it felt like a normal apartment should feel. He did not feel the uneasiness he had felt in the past. After reviewing the video, audio, and thermal recordings, he should have felt terrified. However, he felt nothing at all. Shrugging the thoughts away, he put down his bags and unlocked the door. Dr. Kher made his way into the apartment and dropped the groceries in the kitchen in his briefcase near the broken table. Feeling a little warm, he changed into a t-shirt and some basketball shorts piled on his air mattress. He then dropped the air conditioner down to 70 degrees and started putting his groceries away. The task reminded him of his bachelor days a long time ago. He tried to repair the table by flipping it over and bending the frame back, but the table's surface ended up coming loose. The table was worthless now, so he had to set up his laptop and electronics on the kitchen counter. He grabbed a beer from the refrigerator, snapped it open, and took a long drink. Before setting up, he took a moment to eat his burger and fries, and he washed it all down with the rest of his beer. Satiated, he got to work setting up his equipment. He worked late into the night reviewing the other camera footage from the interview session. He set up all his other video feeds from the various cameras and synced them with the interview camera he had already finished. Every camera caught the water bottle flying through the air and the table breaking. The strange mist on the interview camera, however, was absent in all other feeds. The bedroom video had nothing out of the ordinary, and the main kitchen feed did not have anything else either. The corner living room camera had horizontal interference lines that plagued the feed throughout the session. The living room camera caught a full shadow figure standing behind him. The form was visible at the same time the black mass was on his shoulder in the interview video. The full shadow figure disappeared from view before the table was broken, though. After several hours of reviewing the video footage, Dr. Kher's eyes were getting sore. It was past 2:30 in the morning already, and he decided to call it a night. His mind was wide awake, but his eyes were beginning to fail him. He saved his work, shut down his laptop, and surveyed the quiet studio apartment while waiting for the electronics to power down. He still felt no uneasiness, thick air, or other things that had previously made this apartment feel haunted. Most cameras in the rooms had blinking red lights to indicate the memory cards were full and they were no longer recording. He decided to change the memory cards of the main camera near the door and the bedroom camera for tonight. Reaching for his phone by habit as he walked into the bedroom, he realized he had left it on his office floor. The glass screen had likely cracked from the impact against the wall and floor. Fortunately, his first class was late in the morning, so he wouldn't need to rely on his alarm to be there on time. He would likely wake up at 6 in the morning, as he had for approximately the last 20 years as a college professor. After changing the memory cards, Dr. Kher turned off all the lights and retreated to the discomfort of his slightly deflated air mattress. After clearing off a pile of clothes, he drifted off to sleep. The night was uneventful, and he awakened a little later than usual. a little bit after dawn. His bladder would not allow him to sleep too late, even if the morning sun did not wake him first. He took a shower, got ready for the day, and used the supplies he had picked up from the grocery store. He then prepared himself a quick breakfast of cereal with milk in a paper bowl.
Wow. All I need is a coffee maker and some cookware, and I could live here. Hopefully I won't have to, though.
He thought as he surveyed the apartment, his thoughts drifting to his wife. Hopefully she would get over his transgressions and forgive him. With the new feeling in apartment 404, his research on this project was likely coming to a close. A nice October vacation in the Virgin Islands would go a long way for both of them. After his breakfast, he got to work replacing memory cards and resetting his recorders. He organized the cards by device number and surveillance date, and he put them away in his custom case to review later. He had a lot of additional data still to go through. He was hoping to find additional clues about the sudden pacification of apartment 404. At the moment, Dr. Kher was puzzled. Regardless, he had more than enough evidence to publish his paper on the paranormal activity he had witnessed and recorded. Finding out how the area was pacified would be an added bonus. The proximity of the host tower apartments to the university campus made up most of the lost time from sleeping a little later. He made it to his office at almost the usual time. He even was able to swing by the campus bookstore to get a coffee. The walk across campus was enjoyable as always. It was the last day of the first week of classes, and students of all kinds were hustling about the campus. The freshmen had maps in hand and worried faces, and the juniors and seniors played about as if the campus was their very own playground. Dr. Kher was in a good mood. He was going to have an interesting lecture today, one that talked about his recent experiences at apartment 404. It would make for a great lecture on the first Friday of fall semester. Many of his students were still on the fence about taking his Psychology 101 class, and most were deciding whether to pursue a major in psychology. He was confident his updated lecture would win many of them over. After he updated his lecture in his office, a wide smile formed across his face. The students would not soon forget this lecture.
And that concludes Chapter 2. Thank you for watching to the end. Please like and subscribe so you won't miss the release of the next chapters. Have a great day.